The following event is produced by WCSN, the home of world champions.
The lineup for the men's quadruple sculls. The two crews that went through directly to the final, Italy and the Czech Republic, and on the clock at least, not much to choose between them. And for the not umpteenth time, but yet again, Australia with Dan Noonan in the stroke seat in lane 6 closest to you. So Australia closest to you, 2 from the bottom of Russia, 3 away from you are the Czech Republic, then 3 from the top, Italy, in the centre of the echelon, Germany, and furthest away from you, the quad from Belarus. And that is an even start.
That is a very even start. Dan Noonan stroking the Australian quad there. He's the odd man out of this entire regatta, because on his date of birth column it's gone to the default setting of the 1st of January 1900. I think he might be a bit insulted by that, by being in his 106th year here, but he seems to be zipping along. Actually, he's not zipping along, he's in 6th place as well. That's the default setting for Australian crews.
Age is no barrier. But here we are with Germany, and at least represented here, René Burmeister in the stroke seat, Marco Geisler, Christian Schreiber and Falco Nolte. Now this is an experienced quartet.
Well, Geisler has 3 gold medals, 01, 02 and 03, but slipped 3rd bronze medal in Sydney, came up from the bronze medal in Sydney, and Christian Schreiber was in that 01 crew in Lucerne 6 years ago.
Yeah, and a little bit of moving of the furniture here, because last year in the World Championships, when Germany finished a rather disappointing 6th in Japan, Robert Sens was actually stroking the quad.
Indeed, but he won his double scull this morning in great style, and you can see the Italians in lane 3 struggling a little bit, and it's the Russians, unexpected winners in Athens in 2004, poor performers right through the season last year in 2005, and they are looking very much like their Athens selves, not really doing any work, but just tapping this thing along and in the lead in lane 5. Nikolai Spiniev, Alexei Morgachev, Alexei Svirin and Sergei Fedorovtsev in the stroke seat there, and that's just ticking along with no visible effort. The great thing about quadruple sculls is that if you're trying too hard, you almost certainly stop it. And so that Russian technique works very nicely.
But if you remember, the British were pretty disappointed not to make the final last year, and in fact their only consolation was they won the B final, and they actually beat the Russians in the process.
They beat the Olympic champions, yeah. But B finals only ever a matter of compensation. So Russia in the lead, with the Australians, normally so strong in lane 6 in recent races, struggling a bit, and probably at the back of the pack, that is still very much close together. There in middle of the picture we have Václav Halupa in the...
Not quite, no, that's Germany.
Marco Geisler looking like Václav Halupa, which is why I mistook him, in the 2-seat of the German quad.
Yes, Halupa, one of the great athletes of all time in this sport. Half distance there, and through the half distance, Russia ahead of the Czech Republic with Italy, but it's very, very tight here. And the times there, the Czechs quicken it up in that second quarter, 1:27.56, and they're now extremely threatening in lane 4, which is 3 from the bottom of your picture, and Germany are 2 away from them. This is Germany in picture now, and it would be nice to see now we get perhaps a little bit of a better perspective on this. The Czechs and the Italians also striving now. This is about to change, I have a feeling now, Hugh.
I think that when the Czechs go head-to-head with the Russians, there's a certain amount of grudge here, and we can quite expect the Czechs being very anxious indeed to get back in front. The Russians do manage to scull this quad as if they are going out on the afternoon party. There is no visible work going on, and they are just giving away the lead, but they still have they must have 10 strokes a minute in the locker, which they could, if they wanted to, bring out and make a real change of pace. But they are coming up to 500 meters to go, last quarter of the race, and we'll just see if they want to bring any fireworks out or not.
So 500 meters to go, 1500 completed, and this is wide open. Russia by a whisker from the Czech Republic. Italy, although 2.2 seconds back, having a battle now with Australia for that third place, but it is Russia on the near side and the Czech Republic just beyond them, who are edging.
It is actually a matter of surge. At that moment, as they came to 1,500 meters, Czech in front, the Russians were sliding forward to take the next stroke, and their bow popped in front for that moment. It is actually Czech in front now, and by 3 or 4 feet, 2 or 3 meters over, and almost a canvas now, the Czechs have got a grip on the Russians, have got them by the throat, and I think over the last 300 meters, they will probably increase that lead. They look the more dynamic crew. As I say, the Russians didn't appear to be doing anything.
On the near side, though, still worth taking an interest in Australia. And lane 6, yet again, having a really good battle with Germany over in lane 2 for that third place on the podium. That's the way it looks. But in fact, the Australians now doing good work. They're coming up on the Russians, who've looked economical, looked as if they should have something to offer, but they haven't offered it as yet. And it is the Czech Republic getting the applause here of this knowledgeable grandstand as they come into the last 50 meters, 38 strokes per minute, and the Russians are not going to catch them. Australia, though, having a real battle with Germany for third place, and they are literally bow ball for bow ball. Australia on the bottom, and furthest away from you is Germany. It's the Czech Republic and Russia who are going to cross first and second, but Australia and Germany in a photograph that would suggest that Germany might just have got there.
Well, I think the opposite, so we'll see, David. We'll take bets on this. Czechs first, definitely. Russians a second, just a second behind, and Oz.
Well, Australia, yet another third place finish, and they deserve that for the way they rode. They were out of the race, and again, that second half of the race, they really put themselves in. And if you look at the time again, yet again, 1:28.38, they were traveling at the same speed as the Czechs. And what I think is interesting there is that the time for Germany in that last quarter has been given as 1:27.98. Which I am slightly suspicious about.
There's some odd button pressing going on there. Australians, once again, in lane 6. That's not anything to do with bias on the course, simply that they qualified late in the slowest to get into the final. They've come through and taken a medal in the last third of the race, again and again and again. There's something to do with their training program that shows them very strong in the second half. Maybe it's just because they got off the plane a bit late, and they're catching up, but this is a strong Australian team across the board.
But credit where it's due, and the credit is due to David Yerka, Jakub Hanek, I should say Milan Dolicek, Václav Chalupa and Tamas Karas for victory in the men's quadruple sculls over Russia, with Australia again an excellent third.
This event was produced by WCSN, the home of world champions.